Hi, my name is Matt Kosterman. As of 2026, I'm a 56-year-old white guy who lives in Chicago, Illinois. Over the past 10 years, I've transformed my life from one of chronic pain, depression, and financial struggles to one of freedom, contentment, and prosperity. I mean, sure, I've been known to get a little down at times, but hey, what human design projector isn't? I started this podcast to share with the world some of the amazing humans that have assisted me in my journey. In this season, I'm talking with more people who practice so-called alternative healing modalities. Basically, this is most things outside of what we know in America as the medical industrial complex. Shit is messed up around here, what with all the conflicting incentives. So my overall intention with the permission slip is really just to introduce people to other ways of relieving their suffering beyond taking a pill for the rest of their life. Hi, this is Matt, and we're back with another episode of The Permission Slip. Today I'm with Luke Lindstrom, who is an intuitive healer and a channel. Luke and I kind of met at Paul Selig's workshop in Chicago last fall, and we agreed to sit down and chat some more about channeling. So Luke, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, thanks for making the trek down from Old Town. Love to do these things in person. I just think the energy is great this way. And we got a relatively warm day in Chicago. I think we might hit 50 today in February.
It's feeling like spring.
Yeah. Don't let it go to your head, because
it can come back anytime. Winter.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's Valentine's Day. It's the first day of the fire horse in Chinese medicine. So an auspicious Chinese, I don't know, what do you call it? Worldview. So it's an auspicious day. So we are here to chat. So Luke, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up? How'd you get into this? What'd you go through? What was I know you're how old?
I'm 28.
28. So what brought you to where you are today?
Yeah. I grew up in Michigan, in suburbs of Detroit, a typical suburban family. My mom was a therapist. Dad worked in software sales for Oracle and a couple other companies, and then ended up starting his own business. My parents divorced when I was in 8th grade, which was kind of like a pivotal time in my life. It felt like the choices made then, they ripple and have everything. I feel like everything starts from there's like points in our life where we go, this felt like a pivotal point where there was like choices were made that set the tone for the rest of our life. And
did you have siblings? Or
I have a younger sister. We get along. She's cool. Kind of high school was really rough, and
so 8th grade was a divorce. So
going to high school,
all of a sudden the family is
everything. I didn't really understand what happened, and I still don't fully. But like 8th grade, 7th and 8th grade, I was like relatively outgoing. Was like talking to many different friend groups, and when I went to high school, it kind of collapsed. I just talked to one friend group, like kind of kept to myself. Kind of with my parents getting divorced, started using pornography more heavily as like a way of coping, and later found out that was something my dad, I think, kind of struggled with as well. And might have been one of the reasons why my parents separated. But and so high school went through like a pretty big loner phase where I essentially and eventually the one friend group I talked to like unfriended me, and then I just never made any more friends. And and at the end of high school, I felt like I was barely functioning. Felt like I was in really need of healing. And yeah, we can definitely dive more into that.
But probably didn't even know what that meant.
I knew that, like, there's a level of like awkwardness, like a level of like, I felt like I had no voice. I felt I felt surprised when people, like, going off into college, when people would show me attention, I felt like surprised that someone would be interested in getting to know me. Like, I knew I was not I knew I was barely able to like be a human, and I didn't, and it was figuring out, okay, what about my experience has led me to have so little self-worth, right? So little of like, I'm a relatively really outgoing person. Like, I talk to people all the time, and like, I just have memories in high school, like at a job I used to work at, Goldfish Swim School, where I would just sit and be quiet and wouldn't talk to anyone ever. Like, just so, like, such a level of shut downness, where like in high school, like, I really didn't know many people who were like as shut down as I was. Everyone else seemed to be holding it, like, they might have been in pain, but everyone else seemed to be holding it together a lot better than me. And it was like, so I knew something. I knew things were off. I knew I was in need of healing.
Right.
But it was then a journey of figuring out what's actually going to work. Like, how
were you going to therapy?
I went to a couple of therapists in high school, and it was like surface level.
Okay.
Right. You know, therapists are like dentists, and some are great and some are doing the bare minimum. And all the therapists I saw in high school, they never asked deeper questions, right? They never asked like, you know, what is your relationship like with your parents? How did that change when your parents got a divorce? Like, how have you been coping with it? No one asked anything really? Other just then looking at, oh, he seems like he has a hard time focusing. He might need ADHD medication. And it was all like, no one saw. And then, I saw a couple of therapists in high school, and then I ended up, my mom like could see that I was not doing well, right? It was kind of it was obvious from anyone, like that
something had changed,
right? I was pretty shut down, and when I was 18, she took me to go see the somatic therapist in Austin, Texas, who's well known in the therapy community. He's written a book. He does trainings all over the world now, mostly in the United States. But his name's Steven Terrell, and he was the first person I felt who really saw me. Like, I remember, like, I think it was the first session I saw him. He was just like, "Wow, you are so angry," and I was like. No one had no one had said that. No one had ever paid, and I was incredibly pissed. High school felt like you know, anger and sadness kind of go hand in hand with one another. And my mom would wonder why, like, I would try and find the saddest movies to watch. And she's like, why do you like that stuff? And it's like, it was the only thing I felt like could give me a release. Like
because you could emote, you would emote. It would cause you to emote.
Yeah, it would cause me to feel like I was just like watching something that was devastating actually helped me feel the part of me that, like, I felt like I lost like in middle school, I was cool as a cucumber, public speaking, gone in high school.
Wow.
Like, you know, went from being like, comfortable talking to girls to like stuttering anytime. Like, there's like parts of myself that just disappeared, and I didn't really understand what happened. And then, you know, my parents, while it was good that they got a divorce, like, you know, we didn't talk about it, and all of it got kind of pushed down. And it kind of felt like in the short term, my mom started working 6 days a week as a therapist, would come home and just clean the house, do 8 different appointments. And it kind of felt like, and my dad became a little bit more self-absorbed, and the things that kind of like were hidden well when they were together started
Because
leading
they
the
were
way.
sort of compensating for each other.
Yeah,
and-
you know, divorces put a lot of stress on people. Like my parents, we have a good relationship now, and they've both done healing work. They've both become but in the ways that we like, I'm trying to think, they, you know, the ways that with divorce, like the pressure of finances, of like my mom started working more to try and like help us, right?
Keep the same standard of living.
So that I could get a car when I was 16 and I could have nice clothes and all the things. But the caveat was she's listening to people complain about their life 12 hours a day and all day, every day, and then has like no outlet for that level of like, you know, if you listen to someone complain, or if you were, that level of negativity, it has to go somewhere. And a lot of times I was the brunt of some of that. And
she certainly probably didn't want to listen to negativity from you when she got home.
No space.
Right.
No space.
I mean, kind of like you know, somebody who's a chef.
Right.
They probably don't want to come home and cook.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm trying to like badmouth my parents.
I get it. I think so you had this major inflection point at the divorce and going into high school and hormones and like, you know, everything's changing.
Right. And then, you know, and just no one was around. Like my mom was always working. My dad felt a little more like less present during that time because he's dealing with the loss of his marriage and whatever, and my sister's doing competitive dance like every day, and so I'm just alone every night, and I'm just like watching movies and masturbating every day and using pornography and
as a way to connect, feel something.
Yeah. And then like later on like I get like in kind of halfway through high school, my mom could see that I was like, seemed like I was depressed, right? I was getting like all C's and stuff. And so they took me to a psychiatrist and they gave me antidepressants, but I wasn't depressed. I was just not using my energy well. Like my way of rest was just binge watching TV shows and playing video games, and that never actually fills up your cup. And masturbating a bunch. And so they gave me antidepressants, and it actually made me like manic because I actually wasn't depressed in the sense of like a brain imbalance. I was just not using, not really.
Which actually that theory is sort of shown to be, that was like a passing thing that they said to the ad agencies. We'll call it a chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
And that's not actually true either. Like there's so much, you know, don't even get me started on antidepressants.
Yeah.
I know they help some people, but they also hurt a lot of people.
Right. And then no one asks the deeper question of like, okay, well, why is he showing up as depressed? Like what's really going on? Why is he having such a, like no one, there was never any like looking into that by anyone. So
and were you using substances at all? Were you like
I didn't have like, and you know,
you didn't really have a friend group.
I didn't have a friend group to
buy you a pot
no substance. I honestly think I like burned myself so much out on like with technology and pornography that, you know, going into college, like it just wasn't an appeal. Like I had already had enough experience with addiction that I wanted a different experience. Yeah. Sure. I didn't think it was,
So then you ended up going to college and studying psychology.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is it sort of what was the, what were the thoughts behind like the choice of major? Did you go into college knowing you wanted to do this? Were you already, did you have an inkling that you had this deeper connection to source was that available to you at this time?
I knew I wanted to help people. That's all I really knew. I actually went into college as like an environmental science major because I saw some environmental documentaries and thought maybe this is the way I could help the planet. And then kind of and I was pre-med, and I did okay in pre-med. I like B's, but usually B's aren't good enough to get into med school. And I ended up becoming a psych major, one, because I needed a break from pre-med. Like it just like, I knew I wasn't going to go to med school with the grades I had. And two, I also, like, the greatest healer I had found was this somatic therapist.
Okay.
And
so you could continue to work with...
Yeah, I'd worked through him with him for like, he would do training sometimes in Chicago, and I would get sessions with him sometimes then. And I thought maybe this seems like it really helps people. It's really changed my life in a lot of ways. And
did that give an outlet for the anger? Did you? How did you?
No.
You didn't process it that way?
No. I think that's a great question. I feel like the anger, I honestly think some of the anger went away when I just started to care for myself better. Because I think my pattern in high school was people, like, I kind of felt like a punching bag for everyone's shit, for my friend group shit, sometimes for my parents' shit. And I think in some ways, while I was not a great human in high school by any means. I think we can all say that about our journey of like, there's times in our life where when we're more lost in addiction, we're not always the kindest and not always saying the best things. But
I did a lot of shitty things in high school.
And I definitely mouthed off to my parents and told my mom to go fuck herself and like all the things. But
it's also part of individuation. Like you gotta, there's always that,
But I also think that in high school, I was like a safe person. Like a lot of times when people would say shitty things to me, I would just take it quietly.
Okay.
I wouldn't fight back. And I think, I've always had, for whatever, maybe I inherited it from my mom, but people always seem to tell me deeper things than like on the bus or whatever. People
I'm the same. Then all of a sudden they're telling you their life story.
Right. They're like, I didn't expect to say this much. Right. And so I think on some level, and I think a lot of like empathic people experience this, is people feel safe with you, but that also means people feel more safe to be more mean and unconscious to you, because if they're avoiding their unconsciousness, that's what takes them over. And I think there's some type of subconscious recognition of, this person's a safe person for me to project my shit onto. And
they're not going to punch me.
Yeah, and that was my high school experiences. I just felt like everyone's punching back, and I ended up going. I think as we grow older, we just start to realize, okay, like the people who aren't kind to us, I shouldn't be so loyal to. And for a long time, that was a big learning curve for me, of like learning how to, one, speak up for myself, two, not tolerating when people are nasty and still thinking I should be friends with them. And
boundaries.
Well,
and I'm wondering if there was, some level of where you took some level of ownership for your parents' divorce, like there was something that you did wrong. That's off.
I had the intuitive hit before my parents got a divorce. Like, what if my parents separated?
Okay.
And
so you knew something was up.
Yeah, and I then felt guilty because I thought maybe that thought.
Oh, you caused that. You caused
maybe
it.
that caused it, right?
Sure.
And for a long time, my parents never told us why they got a divorce. So then it's just like ambiguous, and there is some type of like childhood blame of like maybe there's
I'm a bad person.
Right? Maybe there's some reason why I'm the reason my parents got a divorce.
And I mean, the funny thing is, even, my parents stayed together. They were together for 55 years till my mother died, and they didn't have a particularly good relationship for many of the last years. And even though they stayed married, there's still a level on the flip side. They stayed married, but had a bad marriage. There was some belief that I had that I was the cause of that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, right.
That it was having kids.
Right.
And they had, and then in my doing my work later in life, and I saw, they just turned 22 years old when they had me.
Right.
And I kind of fucked up the plans. Right. My dad they were both in college. My mother had to drop out of college.
Right,
so, what level of residual or resentment,
Totally. Right.
No fault of theirs.
Yeah.
But, I know if I was 22 and I got somebody pregnant, the path I was, going to take over the world and make all the money and do all the things, I would have been fucking pissed.
Yeah.
So all of that to say is, I don't know that it matters that your parents get divorced, that your parents stay together, whatever. Like, we take on shit that's not necessarily ours.
Totally. Right. Yeah.
To have.
Yeah.
And then that can cause a lot. I mean, I had a lot of anger. It took me until very recently to really process that.
Yeah, and the anger is just from the mistreatment, from having friends in high school that sometimes were great and sometimes would say things that were really shitty, and having parents that did that, and having kids on the baseball team that would do that, and all the ways that I, instead of speaking up for myself, I just stayed quiet and took it.
Yeah.
Right. Then it sometimes led into moments where I'd blow up. Like, me and my mom used to get an awful fights in my junior year of high school with just screaming matches. But the thing was, I always lost. I never, my mom could always yell louder or become more scarier than me. And,
oh, interesting.
And that really made me, it made it so I never then felt comfortable confronting authority or speaking up for myself, because I always felt at the end of those arguments or yelling matches, I always felt dominated.
Yeah.
And so then it's
less than.
Right. Then it's not safe, right? It's if I'm always, even if I'm being nasty or getting loud, if I'm always losing those fights, then I should just never speak up. And into adulthood, I've had a really hard time whenever I've needed to say something. It's my whole throat gets tight.
Okay.
And, the anger, it really, I don't know if it really just resolved from me. A lot of it came from me just caring for myself better and caring, instead of taking shit in my day and then going home and taking that out on myself, or taking it out with my thoughts, or in some way saying, this is why this thing that happened in my day is a reason why I don't deserve care, right? And so I'm just going to treat myself like shit. It was for me, it was cutting out pornography. It was becoming vegetarian. It was becoming sober and really valuing, no, I'm going to treat myself well. And that was really the start of me healing and resolving some of the stuff that I inherited, the stuff that
the stuff that you came in here to work on.
Yeah. The stuff that
into this life,
right? It's we light workers come to Earth and or see Earth struggling, and they're like, I want to help, and it's okay, the greatest way you're gonna help is just cleaning up all the family you're born into, all the stuff and the community and all the stuff that's and healing that within yourself.
Within yourself,
right?
Because you can't,
right, because then you're not gonna pass it on, and that I think is overlooked sometimes. No, yeah, it's overlooked in the way of trying to. Sometimes we think, I have to do something in the world, and we never actually look at our own stuff. And, and that can be a real trap. So, yeah.
I mean, interestingly, also, I see there's a pattern. There tends to be a pattern of people with that kind of anger and the feeling shut down and beaten down, where they go in, they try to compensate for it physically. So they start working out, they get big, they get, they think, I'm going to put this armor on.
Totally.
Nobody's going to fuck with me.
Right.
So kudos to you for diving in and
didn't feel like I had a choice. It felt like I was either going to face it or life was going to just become more and more hard, and I was going to the point of I'm barely functioning and I don't know how I could continue to live life like this. So I have to change. It just felt there was, the gift of going through incredible levels of hardship and being incredibly shut down is you get to a place of I have to change. I don't have a choice. Yeah. I have to start listening.
Right. Or
the little pulls of I think I need to do this. It's okay, I just have to do it. Yeah. There isn't an option. Yeah. Right. I have to get better. Right. These things have to, and the grace of that is now I feel pretty comfortable in myself, feel pretty healed, feel, and don't have a lot of like addictive patterns that I struggle with. Don't really find myself in relationships that are super toxic, and that's because of the hardship, right? That's if you can resolve it, it becomes a great way to. It helps you wake up. It doesn't mean we should stay in toxic relationships, but if we were out of toxic relationships and on the other side of it, it's like your greatest pain becomes your greatest fuel for healing. And as long as you don't lose sight of that, you can make a lot of changes and heal rather quickly because of the...
Yeah, and the toxic relationship is nothing more than a mirror to your own toxicity.
Right, yeah.
It's not the other person. It's always you.
Right, yeah.
It's always you.
Right.
There's no other.
Right, totally.
And it's, I think that's it took me a long time to see that.
Yeah.
So when did the connection, the deeper connection and listening to the guides how do you characterize who,
what I do,
what you do, who you're communicating, who's communicating through you?
So I have a pretty interesting relationship with channeling. It's not like a voice.
Okay.
It's an energy. It literally feels like I'll feel like my crown kind of open up and I'll feel the stream come through my body and it just speaks through me. And it's always, there's people that trance channel and there's people that conscious channel. And so, trance channeling is like you move your personality structure out of the way, kind of like Paul Selig, and a guide comes and speaks through you. And then there's conscious channeling, which I kind of think of as like your personality structure and God kind of meet halfway.
Okay.
And so I kind of describe it as like a kayaker on the stream. Like the stream kind of tells the kayaker when it has to turn and kind of is guiding a little bit where the conversation is going, but the kayaker kind of gets to pick where on the stream it gets to be. And so a lot of times it will show up as like when I'm doing my YouTube channel is like, oh, I thought I was going to talk, like I do kind of, my ego structure still has to have a little understanding of what I'm talking about. It's not like I'm just surrendering to something and it's all divine guidance. I also, there's some humanness that is interwoven in that needs to have a little idea about, okay, what is the subject? And so the conscious channel, what it's kind of like your personality structure, while it's not in full control, it is kind of like has some understanding, and then the stream kind of guides.
Okay.
It kind of is like, I always think of it as like the bumpers on like a bowling ball. It kind of keeps it in an area that,
for the kids bowling where they put the blow up tubes down there so it stays on track and don't go in the gutter.
Yeah, and so a lot of times they'll think of, oh, I thought I was going to talk about this, but I'm starting off with talking about something that's much different, and it's just coming through me, and I'm literally following the stream. But then there's still things of like, oh, I'm feeling this pull to talk about this. Okay, I'll talk about this. Or, oh, I only want to talk about that a little. I try and surrender to the stream as much as I can, but it is kind of like you get impressions, or sometimes it'll feel like kind of like a sentence will run through my mind. And there is times where the sentence runs through my mind, or a couple, and I'll get to pick which one of those sentences is going to be the next jumping off point or something.
And what was the impetus? When did this begin? When did you realize that it wasn't necessarily you that was having these thoughts? Because for people who might just be tuning in, I've interviewed a couple of channels, Laura O'Malley, and we're all capable of this, like.
And then art and doing it, and sports and art.
There's a higher guidance. And Paul Selig is, like I said, that's how Luke and I met. So when people have had, my friend Laura was guided to, like, her husband dragged her to the library, which is someplace she never went, and there was this book on, and she was in her whole mess of depression, and there was this book on being psychic or something. I don't remember. And she's like, what's this? And then she started opening to. So how was that for you? What when did you realize that, like, this is not maybe my thought or
right. Yeah. So
something that could be useful for other humans?
It started in college, and I was doing Shivananda yoga. Like I went to Loyola. There was a Shivananda yoga center like a mile away from campus, and I started doing like the 6 a.m. meditations, chanting in Sanskrit, doing their yoga class a couple of times a week, doing Sunday satsang. And it got to a place where I started to feel like, I think I'm ready for a guru. I think I'm ready for some type of spiritual teacher. Like my mom has been into spirituality at she had a couple books on chakras. I did a yoga teacher training in high school. I had some awareness of spirituality coming into my early 20s. And I didn't really know what to think about God it's like sometimes growing up, we do the Our Father who art in heaven prayer. And
prayer, right.
I remember like kind of being like, I don't really know what to think about this. And so, but I knew coming out of when I was 18 that I was in real need of healing. That was like a fire, and like, that just burned. And my mom, like when I was 18, bought me this book called The Brain That Changes Itself by Norman Doge. And it was all these people who had like traumatic brain injuries who found ways to heal it. And I like devoured that book. And so I always had a real passion for healing. And I knew I wanted to help people, but I just didn't know what that would look like. And so I'm doing Shivananda yoga, and starting to feel like I'm ready for a guru, and like, well, maybe I should like go to an ashram or like, they
do the Ram Dass pilgrimage to India.
Something. And they ended up, they do like little messages, like Shivananda and Vishnu Devananda, which are the two people. Vishnu Devananda brought Shivananda to the West. They wrote books, and so they do messages after our meditation and singing in kirtan of like, and I remember it really clearly. It was like right when I was like, I think I need to go to an ashram. I think I gotta find some type of spiritual guru. And they opened the book, and they said like, it was something like, feeding people is worth 1,000 times of then going to live at an ashram. And I was like, oh, okay, that's that seems,
that was what Maharaji always used to say to Ram Dass. Like, he was like, what do I do? How do I help?
Right.
And he's like, feed people.
Yeah. And that was kind of eye-opening. And so I was like, okay, I'll just sit with this desire. And then a couple months later, there's a Hay House webinar, and I had been following this guy, the medical medium, who talks about like
Anthony
Williams.
Anthony Williams. I read his book.
And he was speaking at it, so like, oh, I'll check it out. And there's just like 100 free webinars of like different spiritual teachers, and I watched like 10 or 12 of them, and there was 3 that really popped out at me. Diana Cooper, who teaches about angels and ascended masters, does a lot of guided visualizations. Matt Kahn, who's a conscious channel, and then Carolyn Miss.
Oak Parker.
But I ended up following Matt Kahn and Diana Cooper like much more. And Matt did this teaching during his webinar of like, you've done nothing wrong. And during that time, I felt like everything I was doing wrong. I felt like I couldn't make right choices. Like, just like constantly feeling like everything that was happening was my fault. It wasn't the case, I was doing Shivananda yoga.
But you had a story that it was all your fault.
I was in college, like things were going okay, but it was like the idea of like nothing ever felt good enough. And when I heard that teaching, it was just like, whoa. And then Matt had a YouTube channel, and so I just started listening to his YouTube channel pretty much like every day or most days, and just like and he would answer questions sometimes for people, and they were just like the greatest answers. There was like super deep, super spot on, and I had seen other great healers like the somatic therapist. I've seen him. I've done a training with him, and all his answers super on the money. He always seems like he has an answer. They're really deep. But Matt was just it was just a different level of knowing that just kind of blew me away.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Really
I just
resonated.
I really for the next 6 years just became obsessed with Matt's work. Would listen to through those 6 years, probably listened to pretty much every talk I could get my hands on, like multiple times. And to the point of like, I eventually, like, I really believe like 99% of people would really benefit from like listening to someone that channels. But, 99% of people probably really benefit from listening to a Matt Kahn. He now teaches with his wife, Joy Kahn. But it got to the point where I started to get the gist. It's like, okay, I've heard this. I know, like, I know how you kind of start to hear enough where you're like, I think I've gotten the base. Like I understand this. And I was starting to get bored of listening to him. And kind of right around that time is when, there'd just be little things that happened of like, I would go to send a text message and I would write it and I'd be like, that wasn't really like what I was expecting to write. I thought I was going to write something different. I ended up writing this thing that I really like and seems really profound, but it wasn't actually what I was intending to write. And that can be, when you're starting out, that can be a little slippery slope because the thing about our ego is like, it helps. Like within the stream, there's many different ways we can say something that would be helpful. Mm-hmm. And the idea, and with our ego, has to learn how to say it in a way that's direct and honest, but also gentle. And it's always kind of a balance of that. And for me, it's like the communication when I'm channeling is through energy, and I'm just like translating the message. But there is some leeway in how you translate it. And so, learning how to be direct, honest, but also gentle with channeling messages. And during this time too, I was also teaching yoga, and that always kind of felt like a channeled experience. Like I would feel energy come through me, and would feel it, kind of like would feel like something similar to like when I would go to healing workshops, like would feel like my heart more open after the class, would feel more energized, and I could feel on some level some energy coming through me, and my voice would sometimes shift or something.
Okay.
Like shift, it would become a lot deeper, or I feel like there would be more resonance. And so that was kind of the start. And I then was really feeling like, okay, I know a lot. I've listened to Matt Kahn. I've also been following Diana Cooper. I've also listened to a bunch of other teachers, and really feeling like I need to share this. Like I shouldn't just be keeping all of this to myself. And so I just started doing talks in my yoga class. And the first talk I did, while it took me a long time to recover my public speaking ability, and like was probably really nervous and wasn't the greatest. I could feel very clearly the stream of energy coming through me, and I started to realize that it's channeling isn't something that's God-given. It's something that is a skill that can be grown, and it's something, if you look at my YouTube channel, like the beginning, I had a hard time talking for more than 8 to 10 minutes, and
okay.
it didn't feel super channeled. It felt like I could feel this energy, but it felt like like me with maybe just a little extra of like, didn't like a little extra of just like, didn't expect to talk about this, or this seemed a little deeper than what I was thinking about saying, and then like that slowly to progress to, I'm giving this talk, and I'm listening to myself talk, and it all is super concise and clear, but I feel like I'm just watching myself talk rather than I'm actually the one saying
doing
it.
The talking.
Yeah. And then there'd be other things of like, I would get like, my mind would be blank and I would get like a title for the next video. Like one of the titles I got was like from primal to primordial, and like these really, and it just started to become more like, the more it just started to grow and it started to deepen and started to become more of like, it felt like a much deeper version of myself stepping through on YouTube channels rather than just a light.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So a little tangent. There's a book called The Primordial Code. Have you heard of this book?
I have not.
I think you would really enjoy it.
I probably would.
It's very good. It's just, cool. It's a fascinating fictional account of an island where the people live in complete harmony with each other and with the earth. And they've learned these techniques from indigenous tribes over the years. And they begin bringing people from, call them normies, right? Bringing people in to show them, they give them an experience of the island and see if they want to be part of this program to begin spreading this. It's fascinating book.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
When you said primordial. So anyway, that's an aside. And so what are the sort of, what messages are coming through these days for people? What's the theme?
It is Valentine's Day. Honestly, I've been thinking a lot about relationships and a lot about romantic relationships, and I have been, my experience with relationships is very different from most people. I haven't had a romantic relationship. I'm 28 years old. I'm a virgin. Like literally, like which is a deeper tangent. Like was obsessed with pornography in high school. Would relate to was really lost in sexual fantasies, and then I had an experience when I was 18 where I was like working at this goldfish swim school, and they're threatening to fire me, and my only coping mechanism was like to masturbate, and I ended up, the goldfish swim school dries out the skin, and I ended up masturbating, getting a little friction burn on my penis, and all of a sudden I had to face like my addiction to pornography, my sexual fantasies. And right after that, I did a Vipassana meditation because I was starting this yoga teacher training, and I literally watched my mind think about fantasies about sex the whole 3 days.
Okay.
And just started, it was like, it just really like was like, I think for my journey, a lot of the journey has been like getting completely lost in the wrong direction, and then the universe just kind of like pulling the rug out and being like, okay, now you have to face this. But the thing is that it was like I was a loner, so I wasn't really like having sex. I was just obsessed about sex in my mind. And then all of a sudden I had to face, like, why was I can't even have sex now. Like the whole thing is like, pornography will make me better at sex, yada, yada, yada. And now I have to face this. And the gift of pornography use is a really high, as I started to find my way more and more out of it, is I really started to see the pattern of, in pornography, there's no type of getting to know people, right? Mm-hmm, people just get naked, they start having sex, and then you start to see these people seem actually rather miserable. Like if you actually like look at their backstory, look at who they are, they don't seem quite happy. And they don't seem like they really understand relationships or are capable of having deep romantic relationships. And there's a belief of, if I casually date, if I date around, then I'll have a better understanding of the relationship, where I'll figure out the traits and characteristics and make a list. Okay. And then when I find someone that applies to the list, then I'll find the right person. And so
checks all the boxes.
Yeah. And it just started to highlight to me that searching and seeking is it's necessary when it comes to relationships. It's not the way, in my view. And, I then went through a big of facing that, and in high school or in college another thing happened of like eventually the friction burn healed, but essentially right after it healed, I started to have like little symptoms, like kind of in my lower abdomen. It was affecting my reproductive system. So just like slightly discoloring the skin of my but I felt so insecure about that. I was like, I can't have sex. Like this is, and so then I went through college and I ended up not really having a lot of relationships. The whole reason why I would have gone out to drink was to have sex.
To meet a woman.
Right. Yeah. And so I didn't do that. And I just kind of sat with myself. Like it was like really like a time of like contemplation and like digesting what my experiences in high school. But what you realize is if you sit with your darkness, you start to see through it, and you start to see through, I'm constantly thinking that this person is going to give me some level of worth and value that I haven't found in myself, or there's these really strong desires and cravings that are trying to get that, and fantasies that want to be fed. And I didn't have there was people I was attracted to in college, but I didn't, because of all this insecurity, I didn't end up pursuing it. And I never got to know those people. And it's like, I started just and listening to Matt and starting to become more aware. I was like, okay, like, well, if you can't miss out on relationships that, like, the relationships you're meant to have, if you can't miss out on them, which some teachers teach, and I believe, why didn't those relationships happen? And you just start to see the ways of seeking codependency in a different way. And for me, resolving pornography meant that I had to bring it back into balance, was like to go into the opposite of the pattern and to spend time alone. And then eventually, as I started to get to a place of balance, which was spend all this time completely absorbed in sex, completely lost in codependency, thinking the only way I was going to feel normal was to have a girlfriend, completely lost, and I need worth and value, and I'm going to find that in relationship. And then the other side of it, of being completely going through a period of not having, all through that time I didn't have relationships, but going through of no longer using pornography, and really starting to resolve some of those fantasies in my mind, and coming to the other side of it. When I got to the other side, Matt started teaching a lot about soulmates.
Okay.
And he talked about it as like, it isn't so much about searching and trying to find as it is becoming a person that could handle and receive it. Mm-hmm. And it's a person that can actually is healed enough of their codependency, healed enough of their projecting worth, value, becoming enmeshed and clingy in relationships, or projecting their worth and value on their relationship, or the ways that we might be avoidant and not really want to be kind or caring all the times towards the people we love. It's actually cleaning all of that up within you first that creates the harmony within your field for you to attract another person. And so now I'm kind of in a place where I've just been consciously choosing there actually isn't really anyone that I've met who it's like, I really want to be with. There's people that are attractive. There's people that are easy to talk to. There's people that are into spirituality, but there isn't anyone that really is like, wow, this person. There's people of like, oh, I see you have some great qualities, and I also can see these negative qualities. And I really believe that in order for you to get to a place of wholeness, you can't be willing to settle and compromise in romantic relationships for someone who isn't quite meeting you as deeply as you would want, or has patterns that you've already outgrown, or doesn't have the same level. Like for me, it's like channeling, and channeling is everything. It's that spirituality. Like, it's not something I lead with. Like, I'm on this podcast, and it's nice to be able to talk about this, but when I'm talking with people on the street, I don't talk about spirituality unless they ask questions, right? I'm a human being. I have I play guitar. There's other things I do. spirituality, channeling, it's the greatest thing I'm interested in. And it's the thing that I feel like is the only thing that really could leave an impact beyond myself. And it's like, I don't want to have a romantic relationship where I'd have to be teaching spirituality to them. And so then that rather limits the pool of least of the people I know in Chicago of people that actually would be a partnership that I would be interested in. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And the messages that are coming through are around healing in order to...
Yeah,
I mean, be in a better partnership with oneself, to be in a better partnership with others.
The message is, I think it's just, it's around, I think it's about, like resolving your need for because if you needed a romantic relationship, it would be here. And so if it's not here, why do you think you need it? Mm-hmm. Right? That's the greatest thing to ask yourself. Why do I feel like I need this right now? What about this is going to add something to my experience that is absent right now? And is that something I can give to myself, or do I truly need another person? Because if I feel like I need this, there's usually some level of my own needs I'm not meeting that I'm now projecting on a romantic relationship. And I think, I'm a big believer of like build community, get to know people. Like if you get to know someone and without the anticipation or expectation of this is going to be my next partner, if you're like, no, I just want to see who this person is, and I'm going to take those anticipation, expectation, put it in the trash can behind me.
Right.
Then there's no start of like rushing into something. And there's like, okay, just how well is this person meeting me? How well are we compatible? Are we going to amplify each other's life, or are there going to be some things that are great and some things that really take away Well,
I mean, going back to what you said about, sitting in Vipassana, looking at these things, I think, ultimately there's two things at work. We've been programmed to think that we need to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
And people are very averse, myself included. I still have, I still work with it, very averse to sitting with themselves.
Right.
Just being with yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And until you can just be with yourself, how can you be with another?
Yeah, if you allow aloneness to really take you, which, I have unintentionally, that's been kind of my journey. Like the universe set it up perfectly, gave me the right programs. Aloneness just was something I sat with for quite a long time. All you find is, wow, I really love myself, right? All you will find is,
well, that's what you found.
That's what I found.
I mean, not everybody finds that.
Well,
I mean, some people find it eventually.
You have to learn how to, even the sexual fantasies, how they resolved, right? I talked about this loss, and after pornography, it lasted for like years. Like, my mind would just feel like it would enter a portal, would get lost in sexual fantasies for 20, 30 minutes, would come out of it, be like, I wasn't even horny, and that would happen every day, maybe multiple times a day. And eventually, what ended up resolving it is one day I was working on the gym, I felt them coming on, I was like, it's gone to a point of, it's been years now, I'm just like exhausted of having this experience, I don't want to be fantasizing about sex. And I put my hand to my heart and I just said, I love you, sexual fantasies. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for teaching me how to love something I don't want to love. Thank you for teaching me how to sit with something I don't want to sit with. Thank you for being an experience of discomfort that is only helping me learn how to be comfortable in the discomfort. And I said that and they went quiet. My mind went blank. Felt like I was getting pulled blank, just pure black stillness in my mind. And what you realize is, okay, yeah, being alone, you might not find self-love right away, but it's learning how to love, right? Being like a parent. And when the child is crying, okay, I love you. Like, I love you, honey. Like, thank you for showing me how you're feeling right now.
Yeah.
It's like learning to reparent yourself, and you will find that if you spend enough time alone, you eventually will find it. But you can skip a lot of steps if you just start doing it at the start of your journey. And
Sure.
And the thing was, I had Matt, and he talks about a lot of stuff like that. So it didn't take me, it took me a couple years how to figure out with like my mental, fantasies and stuff. But when you focus on love, all you will find is greater love, and all you will grow is greater love within yourself. And at the beginning of my spiritual journey, something I would do is like, as I was waiting for the train and stuff, I would just look at people and say, I love you, under my breath. And I would just repeat that. And there's many different ways to resolve.
And that's a small piece of the Ho'oponopono practice. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I'm very familiar.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you.
Right.
You can change you can change worlds, you can change other people.
Yeah.
Your relationship with other people through that practice.
Totally.
And through Paul, I often will use the attunements that Paul Selig brings through of, I know who you are in truth, I know what you are in truth, I know how you serve in truth.
Yeah, right.
And I'll do that when I'm walking through the neighborhood and I catch myself in judgment of others.
Yeah.
Because it's just this automatic thing that we do. I think
it is. Yeah.
We do.
No, it totally is.
I don't set out going, I'm going to go around and judge people today.
I think if you did that, like, I think only the avoidance of judgment is actually what allows it to be so loud. And when you're
trying to suppress it.
Right. Yeah. You're trying to stop thinking that.
Yeah.
Right. Stop it. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And it's actually, if you're going to go, I'm going to judge people, the part of you that wants to be expressed through judgment would become quiet, because it goes, now they're listening to me. Right. It's just it's just a part of you that wants attention.
Right. And we exist in a duality for a reason. We're here. There's experiences that we think are positive. There's experiences that we think are negative.
Totally, yeah.
And we automatically assign some level of value to that.
Yeah.
And you can it can interrupt it. You can interrupt it. Like you can because ultimately the thoughts are going to come, and to the extent that we resist the thoughts, they'll get stronger. But it goes to what you said of just, I'm going to judge. Okay.
Things can only take you over when you avoid them, because if you're avoiding it, you're saying it's too scary for me to deal with, which is essentially giving your power to that thing, which then gives it more influence and pull over you. And I think, with me, what I realized is it isn't so much about, and then there's the other pattern of I'm not aware of it and I'm feeding it. And it's about walking the line in between of, like, if you were to say, okay, I'm going to judge people, you're just giving that part of you permission to be itself. And then it's like, okay, now maybe I journal judgments towards people as a way of actually pulling those weeds of judgments out of myself. And when you honor something for the way it is, it surrenders back into innocence. But when we try and avoid and not express it, is when that part of ourselves will unconsciously be able to influence us or control our mind or to create judgments that we don't want to experience in certain times in our life.
Yeah, or live in the body. I mean, I had an experience recently. I've been on this journey of healing from all this pelvic stuff, and I'm working with a wonderful woman, Ingris, up in Roscoe Village, and there's still been this remaining deep hip pain.
Yeah.
And she had me go into, while she was doing some somatic work, to literally talking to the body and saying, this is a holding pattern. This is how my body holds. I now choose to release this holding.
Yeah.
And I could feel it then moving around and showing up differently and dissipating.
Right.
As it was recognized for what it was.
Right.
I don't need to know where it came from.
You don't.
I don't need to know why it's doing that, but the edges of it have softened as a result of that.
You just need to recognize and acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Right. It just wants to be seen. Right. And, I think oftentimes with pain in our body, it can almost feel like there's a wall preventing us from really being able to feel it. And I think, that's a deeper question of, okay, why is this wall here? What was it think it's protecting me from? And I think curiosity is one of the greatest ways to uncover greater healing within what's trapped inside of us. So
yeah. So how are you engaging with people? I know you said your day job is fascinating. dealing with? You work as
peer support.
Peer support in
right.
mental health facilities.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And so that's your day job.
That's my day job. Yeah.
So you get to see, I'm sure, some incredibly troubled souls, or misunderstood, or how would you characterize?
Yeah, I would say people that lost a lot of battles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, people that are really given really bad cards and were not given any type of help or tools to find their way out of it, or people that hit crossroads and chose to continue to choose self-fulfilling prophecies of destruction rather than to grow and to heal. And for most people, it's probably a little of both sides of the coin. But, I think...
And so you're there basically just to listen and support?
Yeah, to provide emotional support, to also help people move out, that want to move out of these facilities and are capable of doing it. Not everyone is, but some people are just there for just because they have nowhere else to go to. And some people are rather high functioning and just needed were going to be homeless if this facility didn't exist, and so end up there as well. And it's been an eye-opening experience of I think it's just taught me, I think there's a lot of stigma around homeless people. There's a lot of stigma around people with disability, and being there every day, it's really helped, even me see the little ways of we talked a little bit about this before the podcast of there's people there who are my age who are same mental abilities, high functioning people, and they relate to people there who are lower functioning just as they would anyone else, not as different. And I think different, when we're treating people as different, it can be rather isolating, even as children growing up, when our parents treat us like a child, different can sometimes the parent needs to set the rules and be the authority, and sometimes being treated like a child makes us just feel sometimes less than or different, and I think being there has really helped me see the ways of the still subtle things of stigma, or the subtle ways of relating to people from a place of different, rather than they're just a human being that has ended up here that might have gone through more struggles.
Yeah, I mean, in my own journey, I mean, I literally remember I went to school up in Wisconsin, and we were down here for something, a holiday. Maybe it was the 4th of July, I think in the summer, and we were walking over by what is now, I still remember it, probably drinking and walking over by what's now Maggie Daly Park, and there was, a homeless guy on the bench, and my attitude was, I think I yelled at him, "Hey, get a fucking job." Right? I mean, this was the little shithead that I was.
Right.
And then as I got older, I realized, and as I started doing, the work, that it scared me to look at these people. I didn't want to look at, I didn't want to look.
Yeah.
And it was the landmark experience that helped to transform that.
Nice.
And where, I think it was in the advanced course, which is the second course. And I remember going, they said, in order to, you can study these things, you can talk about changing, and you can study changing, but they always talk about a landmark on the court. What do you do on the court?
Right.
What do you do in life? And I remember going on a break, going to Trader Joe's, and there was a homeless person outside the Trader Joe's, and I walked past him, and I stopped, and I turned around, and I said, "Can I get you something?"
Yeah.
And I bought him some food.
Nice.
Not to pat myself on the back, but it was it was a shift, because they're humans.
Right.
And they're an aspect of us.
Right.
And what if we all just fed them?
Right. Yeah.
Instead of looking for somebody else to do it.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody's got to take care of this.
You, yes.
Right?
Right. You be the change you want to see.
Be the change you
Right.
want to see.
Yeah.
And like Maharaji said to Ram Dass, feed them.
Right. Yeah. No, totally. For me, it's like, I don't make a ton of money right now, but sometimes I give them money. But most of the time, my practice is of just like, can I listen to them?
Mm-hmm.
How many people walk by and pretend like they are not there?
Right.
They don't exist. And like the people around my building that I talk to that are homeless or by the grocery store that I go to, it's like we've become friends. Like
Mm-hmm.
I made a new friend that we check in every time I go buy groceries, and it's like, wow, this is nice. Like it's and I think one of the simplest ways to resolve homelessness is to treat them like human beings and treat them like a member of your community, because they are, right? They're a part of your community. And when we try and pretend like they're different, we're just reinforcing
the separation.
And the unworthiness that on some level somewhat feeds homelessness. And I also think with homelessness, it's like, I'm losing my train of thought.
Well, Paul, I always I like what Paul's guide said. And this was early on when I found Paul Selig, and they said, our souls have incarnated in this physical plane in order to learn things.
Right.
And they said, if you want to learn a big lesson in humility, you incarnate as somebody who's unhoused, who's homeless. Because you will learn humility at a soul level in a way that few people will learn it.
Right. That's true. Yeah. And that's something I see at my facility and the people I've talked with is you would be surprised how happy these people are. A lot of these people are happier than, or some of them are happier than people with homes, there's
with homes and money.
Right. There's a simplicity and a minimalist that really returns you to not having to wear so many masks, which I think is what humility really teaches us to do. And I also think people that are homeless can be incredibly genuine, and there's at my facility, there's a guy who's blind, and he will go off on people he'll complain about people and not see they're in the room. And, and they don't get mad. Mm-hmm. They're just, it's just him being him. And there's many adults who can't do that. Who can't have the humility of, I don't need to try and dominate this person for how they're complaining about me. And,
interesting.
And I also think, when you start to talk about unity from the way I see it is the belief of, okay, we're all in different bodies. We all have a soul. But what's really bringing this body to life? And if you think about what's bringing this body to life like a computer, like what if what's bringing this body to life is like the electricity or the energy? And what if there's different types of voltages of electricity, but it's all electricity. And so what if the person who's homeless is you in a different lifetime, right? And I think when we are relating to life from separation of, I'm in a different soul, it's not my problem. Your soul is just the past lives, simultaneous lives that are giving you qualities and characteristics and a story and things to heal in this life, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing that really is what is animating you is the mystery. You could say the mystery of light, or it's a deeper aspect than just your soul. And if you related to someone as they're me in a different body, how much more kind, compassionate, and caring would you be to them? How much more willing would you be to help them out? Yeah. Right. And
I mean, can you start by looking them in the eye?
Right. That's huge. How many people don't do stuff like that? Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Just acknowledge them as another human on this path.
Right. Yeah.
In a body, in a harsh place, in a place that can be pretty harsh.
hardest thing. Yeah, it's one of the,
This world,
right.
as beautiful as it can be really harsh.
Oh, it can be so heavy metal. Yeah. It's and I talk about I just talked a little bit about my journey and whatever. I was in need a lot of healing. It could be so much worse.
Yeah.
I've found people who it's like, holy shit, like, how are they?
Yeah.
How is it? Like, I went through something that I thought I was barely functioning, and people have so much darker journeys than me. And that is humility and recognizing that the people that are homeless, like, how much shit must they have gone through, right? If everyone has an innate desire to be they're a better version of themselves, how many times had this person fallen down and no one was there to give them a hand?
Yeah, well, and it's a very fine. I mean, I found myself, on the brink of it. Like,
right.
I had a 5-day eviction notice 5 years ago,
right.
after having filed for bankruptcy 10 years prior, and having a foreclosure and going through divorce and still not, and going but for all intents and purposes from the outside view, looking fine, right? Because it's what we do.
Yeah,
we always want to look good,
right?
And it's a very, I've seen firsthand, there's a very thin line there.
Yeah.
There's a very thin wall. Ultimately, you're a few bad decisions away, and you can sometimes just be at the mercy of forces that are so far beyond you.
Right. Yeah. You absolutely can.
That things can change very quickly.
There's been times when I've been writing notes, like we have to write notes for when we spend time with people, and I go to write a note and I'm not really that focused, and I type my name into that. It's like, that's a wake up. It's like, you're not better than this person. You just have had, for me, it's like I had more help. Like, sure, my parents, gave me stuff that I needed to heal, but my mom took me to a therapist across the country to regulate my nervous system. Like, people who's an incredible healer. Like, people they don't have opportunities like that. No, my mom paid for me to do a yoga teacher training in high school.
Sure.
Like, there's so many ways that my parents have been amazing and really helped me in a lot of ways. So
Luke, outside of the amazing work that you're doing with these folks, your channeling work, how do people find you? You have YouTube?
I have YouTube. I'm on all the socials. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. It's either Luke Lindstrom, Lindstrom, 1111 1111. That's YouTube, and that's TikTok, and then Instagram is Luke C. Lindstrom.
And I'll put these in the the little notes down below for people. So you do weekly?
I post a couple times a week. Like little short form stuff. I've been focusing on more lately.
And are you working with people one-on-one?
I'm working towards getting people aware that I know things. Slowly but surely, do readings here and there, but trying to build that out more. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. This was great. Yeah. No, really, I love doing podcasts, so I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Appreciate your time.
You bet.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll come at you next time. Peace out.
Thank you.